What's good, fam? Welcome back to the channel. This is Constant Sports. I'm your host, Constance. Let's get it started on this Monday, right? So usually WNBA don't have games on Monday, but we do have one game tonight, so I'll be tuning into that one. Today we're gonna go over the top 8 teams, right? Because we know how the playoffs are. The top 8 teams are usually the ones who get into the playoffs, and obviously this is the beginning of the season. Most teams have roughly played 10 games. Some played 12. I think Indiana has the most games right now. Um, so we'll go with the top 8, and then we'll recap at the end, go over some of those last few teams and what they need to change. And a couple of them teams, I don't think are going to make the cut either way it go. I know it's early, but unless something drastic happens, that's what it's looking like. Number one team obviously is still Connecticut, sitting at 9-1. They did get their first loss against the New York Liberty a couple days ago. My thing is with Connecticut was the fact that they're a really good team, right? They're a really good team. They know how to play together. They've been playing together for a very long time. It's not a lot of new pieces on that team. And a lot of their games was back and forth early on in games, right? So the first 3 quarters, whatever team they were playing against, they were right there with them. The issue was they couldn't find a team that could outlast them. They couldn't find a team that can fight with them till the end, and that's how they went 9-0. Now they went up against a team like New York who can go the distance and who can continue to push you to also go the distance. So they played a lot of Connecticut ball. They were up and down the floor. Obviously, we know New York is physical, so for New York to match Connecticut's physicality was something that every team needs to figure out, because Connecticut is always going to be a physical team. So you have to match their energy, and that's what New York did to get that win. Number 2 team is New York, sitting at 11-2, right? So they play more games than Connecticut, obviously, but they have 2 losses, so they're still sitting at the number 2 spot with that tiebreaker to go over Connecticut right now, since they've only played one game against each other. So I think those top 2 spots could be flipped either way. It just depends on the day. New York is playing great ball. They are playing unselfish basketball like we saw Vegas do in the playoffs. They have a lot of offensive sequences where every single person touches the ball before that final person takes the shot. And it's beautiful. They're fast. They're crisp passes. Their defense, they play very good defense. There's no issues. Guards play good defense. Post players play good defense. So they are an all-around good team. Number 3 team is Minnesota, who is sitting at 8-3. Minnesota is a good team. They're a well-coached team. They're a feisty team. Everyone can score on that team, and everyone knows their position and their part to play on that team. They fight it out and they grind out, right? They lost a game and then they won one. So right now they're on a 1-game win streak. I do believe, will be a team that definitely makes it to the playoffs. Do I think they'll drop in rankings as the season goes on? Absolutely. That's just how things are going to go. Teams are going to get better. A lot of players who aren't playing are going to be back. So I do believe we will continue to see Minnesota as part of one of these top 8 teams for sure. Number 4 is Seattle at 7-4. They lost their last game, but then the game before that, they beat Vegas. Seattle has everything. They're playing great basketball. Sometimes they get out of the way, and I just feel like that last game, their shots wasn't going in for them. It was the shots they normally take. The ball wasn't dropping. Maybe it's because they're tired because of this road tour that they're on right now. We'll see how the next game goes. But I do believe Seattle, just like Minnesota, will be one of those top 8 teams. And if I was any team, I would not want to play Seattle in a 1-game game, pretty much. I wouldn't want to do it. They have great defense. Ezzy Maguire, amazing player who knows who she is already. She doesn't need much coaching. She has an amazing coach on the floor with her in NECA. Um, she consistently has at the minimum 2 to 3 blocks a game, and I'm not talking about small blocks. She's throwing these balls into the stands, and it's great. She's doing it on both ends of the floor. She can block a shot on one end and hightail it the other way, and somehow she's the one making the layup on the fast break. So she's an overall great player. We know NECA is she's being NECA. Skylar and Jewel Lloyd are really playing well together. I like it because I always believed that Seattle needed a point guard. Once Sue Bird left, they needed a point guard, and that's what they were missing, and they got it. The number 5 team is Atlanta, which I'm not gonna lie, that surprised me. Obviously, they didn't start the season off the right way. They just beat Chicago their last game, so they're sitting at 5-4. There's still a lot that they need to work on. I do feel like a lot of their issues are gonna come when their emotions get involved in a lot of their plays, which it does. Um, they still have a lot to work on. I believe that Cheyenne Parker is the key to that team. She does it all for that team. And as long as she continues to play well, I think the team will continue to be successful in the long run. Number 6 team is Las Vegas, who is 5-4, which is a surprise to a lot of us just because of the fact that it's Vegas. They're the defending champs back to back. And they lost their last game to Los Angeles, but at that point, they already don't have Chelsea Gray. She hasn't played this season. Plus, they didn't have Jackie Young. So the rookie, Kate Martin, stepped in. She started that game, and she did amazing. She did what she was supposed to do as a rookie, starting her very first game. Like, this is the first game she's ever started. She's played minutes, obviously, in all the games, really. But to get her first start and have 13 points on a team where she went in there as, I would say, an anchor because they were missing one of their leaders. And she did what she was supposed to do, pass the ball. She took the shots that she felt comfortable with taking, and she made her shots, right? She got in there. She did not stand down from anyone, right? She played great basketball. If she wanted to drive to the hole, that's what she did. She wasn't scared of anyone, and that's all you can ask for in your rookie when you're putting them in a starting lineup is to go out there and play basketball and have fun. And I think that's what she's doing. Number 17 is Phoenix. They're sitting at 6-6. Brittany Griner has been back the last couple games. Obviously, it's still a process with her. They don't want to really throw her in there and risk another injury, but she's playing really great ball. Phoenix is up and down. A lot of people thought that they would be higher or their record would be better, but I feel like at this time for them, this isn't a bad spot. 6-6, the number 7 team in the league right now. They're playing great basketball. Kalia Copper is really holding it together for them. Her getting that last shot for their last game to win it really, I think, helps her confidence as a player on a new team. And you also have to think that the Mercury have a new coach as well who's learning how to coach in the WNBA. And luckily he went to a team that has a lot of veterans in it. So I do think that they will continue to get better, and I'm excited to see because Diana Taurasi is doing what she does. So we'll see. Number 8 team is Chicago, sitting at 4-6. Lost their last game, which was against Atlanta. They did get news that Elizabeth Williams will be out for the season for a torn meniscus, so that means that Camila Cardoso gets the nod as your starting center, which I like the duo of Cardoso and Reese, because to me the best passers on the floor are post players to each other, because they can see over the top of just about anyone and they can always find their other post player. If Camila Cardoso and Angel Reese continue to play together, I could see them having that chemistry like Nneka Agumake and Candace Parker had. How they always knew where each other was. They both were great passers and got the ball where it needed to be. So that's definitely something to look out for. So that is our top 8 teams. Overall, this has been a very exciting and crazy season so far. Obviously, like I said, we're roughly 12, 15 games into the season, and but there's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of surprises, but overall, some amazing, amazing games. And I was already excited for the season to start, and now I'm just even more excited for it to continue. Obviously, our bottom 4 teams, which is LA sitting at number 9, and they're 4-7. So depending on these next few games, they could move up into that number 8 spot, or even higher than that into the number 7 spot, just depending on how Phoenix and Chicago plays the next couple games. Number 10 is Dallas sitting at 3-7, which really shocked me. That is I think the most shocking record is Dallas sitting at 3-7 because they're a very good team. They're just they're not figuring it out in the end. At the end of the game, I feel like they've lost a lot of their speed, and I don't know if maybe they just not in exact basketball shape, which is not something normal that you would say about WNBA teams. So hopefully they figure it out. Obviously they're just 3-7, and I do believe that they will be able to turn it around. Indiana sitting at number 11 at 3-9. They beat the Washington Mystics their last game. Um, Indiana is a young team. Uh, they're figuring it out. They play really good basketball against anyone. It's just the fact that they played a lot of games, and they played a lot of games up against some very good teams that's battled them, that's put pressure on them and forced them out of their comfort zone. I do believe forcing turnovers. We already know Indiana has one of the highest turnover percentages in the league. Um, they they'll figure it out. Their post players are great, right? It's the guard play from all sides that really needs to advance and keep going, and they'll figure it out. But I don't really see them moving up into the top 8s. Could it happen? It's already been a crazy season, so why not? Finishing it out is number 12, which is Washington. And I want to say this: Washington has been playing basketball. They have been grinding it out. They can't get over that hump of like roughly the last 5 minutes of the game. That last 5 minutes of the game, they just completely fall off. They're rushing things a lot, even if they're down by 5 with 5 minutes left. They're rushing their shots instead of continuing to play the game that they had been playing the entire game. So a lot of the games that Washington has lost is 100% games that they could have won. And that they're not even really 50-50 games. When it comes to like the last quarter, it's not a 50-50 game most of the time. Most of the time Washington is up. They've been playing amazing basketball. It's just that fourth quarter is their kryptonite. Because I've watched them play amazing, amazing basketball against Indiana, against Chicago, against New York, grinding it out where I'm pretty sure they had those other teams scared. And I did that Indiana and Washington game was a very good game, a game that I thought that Washington would get their first win on, seeing how they had been playing against New York and Chicago, how they played against them. And then they come into the Indiana game and they play that exact same way. They just fall off at the end just like any other day. So we'll continue to see how these teams do throughout the season. Continue to like my videos, watch them, share them. Thanks for the support. Peace, love, happiness.